Alright, what's up guys? JR here. It is Thursday, August the 17th, 2017, and I'm going to be recording my trading day. Pretty much, it appears that we have a downtrend today. I'm in short right here. I'm looking for a retest for this move down, and I'm also looking for a measured move of this first leg, and the measured move is going to put us down at around about 54, I think. So this is going to be your first leg right here, and then this is going to be the second leg, which puts us right down to 54 if this thing will stop chopping around. Yeah, about 54. I think you guys can see that, but hoping that I didn't get trapped here. I've been noticing that there's been quite a bit of failures today and tricky things. This is the first trade that I see that I actually kind of like. We're coming off the EMA, bit of a range. We have some resistance up top here. We have some what appears to be support forming down here with slightly higher lows, so that's not the best of a sign, but I do like that this is a relatively small bar coming right off the EMA, pretty bearish, and instead of entering on a stop, I waited until we broke lower and I stuck my limit order in there one tick better to hopefully be able to successfully scalp out of this trade. And yeah, first contract is going to come off at one point, which is going to be 57.75, and then the second contract, I'm going to go ahead and drag it down to 54.50. So just 2 ticks before a measured move. So we're out on that first contract. Let me go ahead and slide my stop to break even. And we'll see what happens on this second contract. But in the meantime, I'm going to go to pause. I won't be too surprised if I do get stopped out here, because if you notice, these highs are getting slightly higher, the lows are getting slightly higher as well. So we're just kind of steadily chopping to the side and progressively going a little higher. And one more reason why I like this trade is because we didn't quite make it down to the lower end of this trend line and the measured move as well. It's not a second entry. It's not a failed second entry long either. This was just kind of something that I had a feeling would work, and sometimes you have to take those, and I took it. It worked, and yeah, we'll see what happens. But pause for the meantime. Let me go ahead and mark this. There it is, right there. So pause for the meantime, and I'll be. There's another short up top here. I saw it, didn't take it because I wasn't sure if we were actually going to go lower, because if you notice, we went to a pretty tight range. Most breakouts fail. I've always been a bit more comfortable taking the breakouts to the downside. So let's say we were in this range and then we broke out to the lower end. If I had a nice signal bar for a long, I'm more comfortable with that, although don't take this too literal for this particular scenario, because there's a downward bias, so I'm not completely sure if I would have taken it if we had broken out at the bottom. But usually I am more comfortable taking breakouts when they break out at the bottom for some reason. I don't know why. I guess that's just what my mind registers as a good trade. So I saw this, skipped on it, but if you think about it, it really is 2 legs up to for a breakout. Relatively small bar, only 2 ticks, really small risk, and that would have paid off pretty nicely if you had taken that. And most likely you were looking for a retest for this initial leg down, because initially I had my trend line drawn something like that, and then you get the break and a couple attempts to go lower. You have support that's forming right there, and then you go into this range. So initially I was looking for a retest of that, didn't see any setups that I liked. I wanted to go short right here on the failed second entry long, and the second, actually it's not a failed second. Well, if you count this double top, then it is a failed second entry long, and it's also a second entry short. But when we started stacking up right there like that, I didn't like that. I think it turned out to be a 3-tick failure or so, and then it reversed, and then at that point we were in a trading range, so I left it alone. And this is the first trade that I see and like, and we're at those lows of the day right now, so hopefully we don't bounce right there, but we'll see what happens. Second contract is down there at 54.50. So yeah, gonna go to pause right now, and I'll be back when we get some form of a change. Alright, so we're about 1 tick away from my second target. I did the math, it's 4.25 points away. So if we get that, then we'll have made 5.25 points off this one trade, which isn't bad. And yeah, so we just got that. That's 5.25 points. Could have gone for more on that one, but hey, we did well. That's all that matters. So it's a pretty nice short right there. So we'll go ahead and look for one, maybe two more trades depending on how time looks. I need to go somewhere today, so I don't know how long I'm going to be sitting here, but yeah, back to pause. Alright, so brief little update. We continued to sell off pretty hard. We had a bit of an overshoot right here. Initially I wasn't sure if it was an overshoot or if we actually had a two-tiered channel, so I just went ahead and measured the distance between the upper end to the lower end, and then just got a measured move for that for the lower end of the possible channel. And then we had a pretty nice failed second entry short right here. I was really tempted to go long, but due to the fact that I wasn't sure if it actually is two-tiered and the overall bias being down pretty heavily, that's not worth risking in my opinion. Well, I didn't want to risk it, so I skipped that, and it appears now that we are in fact trading back up to the upper end, and we may get an overshoot, we may get a break, but I don't think this is two-tiered anymore. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that off, and yeah, I'll be back when I get another trade. This could also be the channel right here. The line could be lower, so we'll just see what happens when we get up top here, and that should tell us whether or not we had an overshoot or not. If we just kind of pass through it, or if we respect it and continue to trend lower, then this is probably the lower end, but we'll find out in a second. Alright, so one more thing to note is that I tweaked my line a little bit. The first line that I have drawn wasn't off of the exact extreme, so it wasn't off the tip of the wick completely. I think it was somewhere maybe in the midpoint, so that does alter your angle a tad bit. So what I did was I redrew another line off of the extreme, and we bounced off of it right here. So I'm trying to see which one is correct, if it's the initial one that I have drawn because I like the fit, the way that it fit off the bottom, or if it's this one right here. So usually I alternate between drawing it off the extreme and just kind of drawing it off of somewhere in that region. Really just depends on how I'm feeling about the overall picture of things, and right now I'm not completely sure which one it is, so we're just going to see how this plays out. But right now we technically do have a touch of it, and what came close to be a retest, so we'll see. But this also is sideways motion right there, so I'll figure it out. Alright, so we appear to be selling off from the highs. There's a failed second entry long right here. We actually broke out of the top and the bottom all in the same bar. Not really feeling that, so I'm not going to take that. Yeah, still kind of waiting for a bit of a clearer picture of exactly what's going on and which channel is correct, if we had an overshoot or not, and just trying to get a feel for the overall climate. I don't know if that makes sense because the overall climate is down, but just trying to do it right. Hopefully I didn't miss anything by skipping that, but if I did, oh well. I'm sure there'll be more trades today. The volume seems to be pretty healthy. Market opened up an hour and 14 minutes ago, so gonna go to pause because the people next door are getting their grass cut, and I think the guy's got like a what's the thing called, a leaf blower or something. It's either a leaf blower or a weed whacker, one of those loud things that's going right now, so I don't want too much background noise, but I'll be back. Alright, so I think I'm going to go ahead and go with the line that comes off of the exact extreme. Pretty much come to the same conclusion. The angle is just slightly different. I put the midline in there. I like the way that that fits. And it fits better when you're not playing the overshoot. So you just drag this line down. I like it right there. So I'll see, but yep. Alright, so we have a break of our trend line right here and a measured move up to 57, and we just traded to that price right now. Let me just show you how I got that measured move. So this is going to be my first leg up right here. And, oh, didn't mean to grab that. And then this is going to be my second leg, so that's really a two-legged correction right on up to 57. And we'll see what happens, but basically looking for a retest of this channel down. And still looking for an opportunity to get short once I get a nice setup. There was a second entry short right here off the trend line. This signal bar is bad, and there was a lot of rejection off that EMA, so you don't really want to touch that. It was ticked you in and then would have stopped you out, so just leave that one there alone. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Still looking for a retest, so I'll be back when I get some form of a setup. Alright, so there's a failed second entry long right here. I'm hoping that I didn't miss it. We went out the top and the bottom all in the same bar. I didn't enter on a stop. Initially, I put a limit order one tick better than the position that I'm trying to get in at right now. and I'm hoping that I didn't miss this trade. Like I said, I'm expecting a retest of this low. The main reason why I went for a limit order instead of a traditional stop is because I don't like this setup too much. I just don't want to get left behind, because I can see this thing taking off without really giving too much of a good and proper entry. So I figured this was at least worth risking, since we went out of the high and the low all in the same bar. I just hope that they didn't leave me behind and I didn't try to get too conservative, which is looking like that might be the case right now. Gonna leave my my limit order where it is. I'm not gonna slide it down to the actual entry, because for this entry, you may have entered on a stop as soon as we broke out of the end. You could have put a stop one tick beneath this bar, and then yeah. So hope I don't get left behind, but just gonna go to pause and I'll be back. Alright, so what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of that limit order, and if we do in fact bounce, I'm going to look for another entry, because if we bounce right here, we could come back up and take out my stop up top there. So just going to look for maybe a second entry or another opportunity to get into this, but I don't like keeping my order right there at this point, since we didn't continue going down quickly. So there's a possibility that we could bounce right here. So alright, so it looks like I made the wrong decision once again by choosing to withdraw my limit order right there, because we came back, would have ticked me in, and I would have been out right now, but it's whatever. Still look for another trade. Alright, so a brief little update. I've been sitting here for quite some time, haven't gotten anything. This is pretty heavy sideways movement right here, but I do believe we're going lower, so I'm going to see if I can kind of cheat and maybe get filled on this limit order. I would have liked to have gotten filled before we actually did make that little push down. So now if we do back up, it makes it a little bit suspect. But I still do think that we're going lower. Technically, we do have a break of our trend line and 2 legs down. But if you notice, we really have been trying to go higher. We can't go higher. I think we're going lower. I think the bottom's actually going to fall out. I just don't want it to leave without me. But I don't want to chase this and get into too close to the bottom. We put it where a stop would have gone. Alright, so we just got filled on the limit order. I stuck it where a stop would have gone. Not my ideal entry. We came down 4 ticks, tapped off where the exit would be, so we'll see what happens. And yeah, this isn't the best setup, I'm just going to say that right now, but I still do like it. I think we are going to eventually push through these lows and continue going lower. I have a measured move of this leg down. I think it puts us at around about 44.50 or so. So that's where I'm going to take off my, no, I'm actually going to take off my second contract. I'm going to leave it at 2 points. So the first contract is going to come off at 1 point, which is going to be 46. Then the second contract is going to come off at 2 points, which is going to be 45 flat. We could go a lot lower, but I'm just going to leave it there for the time being and see what happens. But yeah, back to pause. Alright, so we're tapping off my exit right now. This is probably going to be my last trade of the day. Mentally, I don't like the way I'm feeling when it comes to trading. Honestly, I got a little bit annoyed when I missed this one, and I saw this setup. It looked good. I just didn't like going short right into that support. And then this kind of feels like a forced trade, although I do like the setup, but this is really forced. All right, so we got that one. Let me go ahead and tighten my stop to break even. And I don't like trading when I'm in this kind of mindset. It's not healthy. It's not good. So I'm just going to walk away. I think right now I have 6 and 6.25 points for the day. And then we'll see if we can go ahead and get this runner. And if not, oh well, but this is going to be the last trade of the day. Let me go ahead and mark that. A little sketchy, but it's coming right off of our trend line. If you notice, this range is pretty tight, but the lows are getting lower, the highs are getting lower. And this bar was really bullish, and it traded down pretty heavily. I think we're actually going to go lower for this. I just don't want to get greedy, and yeah, I don't want to get greedy, but that's a decent amount of selling right there. Alright, so we got that. That's nice. Okay. Yeah, that's, give me 1 second, let me do the math. Alright, yeah, so that's 8.25 points on the for the day. Not bad, pretty easy trading day. Yeah, that's pretty much all I can say. Let me actually pause this for a second, look back over my chart and see if there's anything else I can talk about. Okay, one thing that I do want to explain is the main reason why I pulled away my limit order for this failed second entry long. So initially you get your swing high up top here, your first entry is right there, you push through the EMA relatively easily, you pull back, your second entry is right here, we break out of the high of that bar, and then we turn around and bust out of the bottom. Main reason why I didn't put a stop down there is because I didn't particularly like the setup too much. I wasn't completely convinced by it, so I tried to put a limit order in there, hoping that it would back up and get me. I think I went for 2 ticks initially, and then when I saw how quickly we're moving down, I stuck it to the low of that bar. And then usually I like to get filled on the same bar that breaks through it, and if not, then the next bar. And since I had 2 bars closed without filling me, when I saw this bullish bar forming, I figured we could easily bounce right here, although I did expect for us to get a retest of the low. Still figured we could possibly bounce, and my stop would have to be 1 or 2 ticks above this bar, which isn't the best location because typically you want your stop to be protected by the price action, which to ultimately protect it, it needs to be at the swing high. That's where you have the greatest chance of surviving, and there's absolutely no way I'm going to stretch it up top there because that would just not make sense at all. But usually you want to get in at the actual swings. This isn't really a swing, this is just kind of a mini pullback within a move down. And then when I didn't get filled on these first 2 bars, I saw this bar forming, I figured we could possibly bounce, tick me in, and then continue going, pop up above this by a tick or 2, stop me out, and then keep going. So due to the stop placement primarily, that's why I didn't leave my limit order in there, and I just wasn't really feeling the setup. It would have worked out. I think there was another one somewhere along here that I think there was one right here. This is pretty similar, and I think that actually ended up being a 4-tick failure. I may be wrong. Give me 1 second, let me check. Okay, so yeah, this is kind of a very similar pattern. You get your failed second entry long that breaks out of the high and the bottom all in the same bar. It turns out to be a 4-tick failure, and it bounces. And 2 bars back to back, and then a nice bullish bar. And I didn't want to risk that because my stop would be right there, and you can easily pull back, take it out, and then keep going. So didn't want to risk that one. It's a good trade though, don't get me wrong. This is pretty much a repeat pattern of what happened yesterday, but that's pretty much it. Actually, now that I think about it, I probably definitely should have just put a stop, since we did have 2 legs of correction, which led to a break. Usually you want to see 2 legs of something before continuing to trade in that direction. So this was pretty much played out, with the exception of getting a retest for this little uptrend. But other than that, this is your reversal pattern, and I think that's about a 50% correction for this move down. Give me 1 second. Let's put some Fibonacci's on here. I usually don't use these, but every now and then I'll throw it on the chart just to kind of see how much of a correction we've had. And it's helpful to know when you've had about a 50% correction. I think that's about 50%. I know my measured move for the first leg put us up at around about, I think the price was 57, and yeah, that's pretty much about the 50% mark. Not 50% exactly, but pretty close to it. But that's it. Don't know how long this video is. Feels like I've been talking forever. It's easy to go on a rant with these things, so hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Okay, there we go. Froze for a second. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, but I'm done for the day. Why is my stuff freezing right now? Okay, I'm done for the day. This is JR, and I'll see you guys probably sometime next week.